Now, the descent of our town centres into lawlessness is nothing new, but in Nottingham, it seems criminals are becoming even more brazen. In this footage here, a number of young men, all with their hoods up, and 3 of them carrying machetes in broad daylight, can be seen wielding their weapons before a passerby appears to calm the situation, and some of the gang run down the steps next to an art gallery, a street I know well. And it seems it's not just a one-off. However, as Natalie Fay found out when she wrote an article about how unsafe Nottingham city centre has become, what happened next is that readers wrote in to say it's not just in the city, and whilst the perpetrators are treated like victims and the victims not protected, it will never end. Natalie, I agree. The wife and I do not go out into the town centre now. We like to go to shopping in town to M&S for new clothes, but we're now scared to go on the bus into town. Well, I'm delighted to say that Natalie Fay, who's the editor of Nottingham Live, joins me now. Natalie, welcome to the show. I read your article over the weekend with a mixture of, well, first of all, thank you for your bravery in speaking out, and secondly, a sense of profound sadness that this is my home city, the place I was born. I too share your sentiment. Nottingham feels very, very different now. Natalie, can I ask you, what prompted you to write this article, and explain to me, if you can, the volume of response you received?
Well, what prompted me to write the article was a mixture of my own personal experiences. I know Nottingham like you do. I've worked there for 12, nearly 13 years, going to the city every day. My partner's Nottingham born and bred, so we know the city very well. But this footage you're showing here was what prompted it, really. And, I think we've got an important role as local news journalists to speak out on issues that are affecting people every single day in our cities. And this is something that regional newspapers are doing. You won't get this sort of story on the BBC, but we're doing it. So what prompted it? Well, it was this footage, my own experiences. But I think it's just a feeling of general decline in Nottingham city centre. And there's a number of reasons for that. They used to call Nottingham the Queen of the Midlands, as you know. It was a thriving shopping place, loads of independent shops, restaurants, people were out and about at all times of the day and night. But this incident we're watching here happened in broad daylight, lunchtime on a Wednesday. It's a busy area. It's in near the Lace Market. So it's a nice part of the city, supposedly. But I just find when I'm walking around, there are people like this who are they're all dressed in black. They've got face coverings on. They've got the hoods up. You can't see who they are. And they'll either be loitering nearby, watching, or cycling past you at great speed. So I've had it on a few occasions when I've walked to the train station after finishing my shift at work. So we're in daylight now when that happens. And quite often you will feel the breeze from someone cycling past you so closely that, it's almost like your bag could be stolen or your phone could be stolen. And I'm sure there's a lot of people watching the show who have actually experienced robbery in Nottingham. So, but as I said, there's a number of factors at play here. You will know that Nottingham City Council declared itself effectively bankrupt at the end of last year. So they've got no money to sort anything out. So we've got a lot of decline in the city centre, and that's producing this kind of downward spiral whereby people don't want to invest, they don't want to come in, new businesses don't want to open up. And Listegate, which used to be one of the main shopping drags down to the Broadmarsh Shopping Centre, obviously Broadmarsh Shopping Centre flattened, building site now, Listegate is full of derelict shops. And you've got this kind of funnel going through to the train station where a lot of this stuff is happening, I find. But there are some other factors too.
Yeah, and these are streets. I grew up on the streets and areas I know very, very well. Natalie, tell us about what happened next, because you wrote this piece from the heart, you put it out there, and I've read some of the email response you got. They're incredibly emotional, I find. It's almost like people are grieving. They're grieving for a city that they feel is being lost. Tell us about some of the kind of things people were saying.
Well, I think people don't get a chance to express their voices very often, and we try to do that all the time, Nottinghamshire Live and the Nottingham Post. So I quite often send out an editor's newsletter with something I'm writing about, and the responses vary, as they would do. But the responses I got to this were staggering, and my inbox was beeping off quite a lot. And you'll know as a journalist, people are always shouting on Facebook and Twitter, but for people to actually take the effort to write an email to you, and these are well-written emails, it's the next step, so people must feel really strongly about this. And I was staggered by the response. And I'm used to getting some flack for some of the things I write, but people were really in agreement with me. And I actually felt very sad reading this, especially that one where the man, we've blocked out the names, but the man said we don't go to Marks and Spencer's anymore. And I just thought, that's so sad. And you find this when you go out in the city, it just feels kind of lawless. People aren't out like they used to be. Maybe it's cost of living, I don't know. But these gangs of people are allowed to sort of roam, and it just feels like there isn't anything to stop them. There's not enough of a volume of other kind of people to block them out, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, Natalie, there was one email that really kind of got me choked from a gentleman who said he was born in Chilwell in 1943. Might be classed, I guess, as an old dinosaur, you might say now. As a teenager being disabled, I knew I could walk from one end of Nottingham to the other at night without fear. I used to work as a taxi driver, but now I would never go out into town at night. You know, Natalie, this is upsetting to hear. And it's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? It seems to be a general decline, but the vast majority of people are watching this and they feel they have an investment in their city and they want something to change. And you're a journalist who's given them a voice, so well done.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a breakdown of society, a breakdown of community, isn't it? I mean, it's so sad that a veteran, you know, someone who's given their service to our country feels like they can't go out and enjoy themselves in their own city. I mean, I'm in my mid-40s. I'm not disabled. I went out in Nottingham on Saturday night and I had my 2 children with me and they said they felt scared. So it happened again on Saturday. But we should be welcoming people into the city centre. And I don't know how City Council and maybe the police are going to sort of get out of this spiral and get people back in to the city and get it thriving again. But when we've got businesses closing down and people don't want to invest, and there's no police on the streets. You know, Nottinghamshire Police is in special measures at the moment, although just to give them due credit, they did arrest those people on that video. So it's just a kind of breakdown of everything all at the same time, I think.
Yeah, and it's worth pointing out, you are correct to say that one of them is now banged up for 18 months. He'd previously been carrying weapons. And the other kid got 16 months, aged 19 and 18. So at least the police did step in and get a resolution there. But Natalie Faye, thank you for writing this article. It's sad that we meet in these circumstances, but people need a voice and you gave it to them. Natalie Faye is the editor of Nottingham Live. Thank you for joining me on the show.
Thank you.
Find that very emotional.